Hi everyone, I'm really happy to be there, and I'll talk about permission management. So why do we talk about permission management? Everyone knows who should have access to something, and then you give them access and then it works. But it's not the way it is. Just a small talk about who am I and where I work. So I'm working at Theatre Group. It's a group in France and in other countries. We are developers working to build good products, I hope so, and secure products for multiple clients, especially in France. So let's talk about permission management. So I'm sure many of you have already seen this picture. It's a broken access control. And you can see people going around the fence. But the fact that I want to talk about in this image is that even users who had access and who had the card to go through the fence were going around the fence. If you build something and it's easier for your users to not use your access control, then they won't use it even if they have access to it. And this is one of the reasons why the broken access control is now the first flow on the OWASP top 10, because even your users won't help you be compliant, be more secure in their app. Just a small example, just examples about broken access control. So in 2019, it's not a long time ago, the French welfare website was just vulnerable because of broken access control. Users were able to get prescription from other users just by changing the ID in the URL. So really sensible informations, and not that long time ago. And I know for sure about some of our clients that had those broken access control in less than a few months, a few years. So it's really something that is well known and that is common, unfortunately. Also, another example, a white hat found a few years ago that with just a simple post request, you could become admin of Facebook pages. So yeah, even the biggest companies have some broken access control. So now let's talk about my project, what happened in my project, and some of the issues we had. Some context about it. So my client was an investment fund company with collaborators all over the world. Those collaborators were working in different companies. They were launching funds. It was really sensible with sensitive data and sensitive people, with really wealthy people. And those wealthy people had lots of money, so they would attract bad people. And we had really, we had to concentrate on the access control. Our problem is the access control is really complicated. We have people from our clients, so they are like the super users, they're the one giving the rights. But then in each company managing the funds, we have the supervisors. They are the one able to publish the documents, for example, because of legal constraints. But we also have back office users, and they are the one managing the app on a day-to-day basis. They are the one creating the documents, managing the users, getting most of the job done. Let's talk about theory first. So we have two kinds of access control. First, the horizontal access control. We don't want people from the company A to access the documents or the data from the company B. And vertical access control. In my specific case, I don't want people like back office users being able to delete documents or publish documents, because only certified people can do this. So this is the vertical access control. We don't want to have more privilege. At that time, our architecture was really simple, so we decided to manage the permissions in Django internally, because in Django you already have some management tools, and I'll talk about it. So first, let's add our super user. The super user is given by Django. Oh, it's really simple. Let's add a super user. I just need to tick this box, and then I have a super user. But then my super user is able to do everything. They can create users, they can change the resources. It's basically as if you were given a user access to your prod database. Like, they could do everything. If I create a new model, then they have access to it. And it led to many issues. So we didn't have the least privilege principle, so no guardrail against human error. We were called by super user who had deleted resources they shouldn't have access to, for example, or like they shouldn't change because they weren't owner of the resource. And in case of an attack, a hacker would have access to everything. So maybe that's okay if you have like one super user. But just like we talked at the beginning, if it's easier, your user, you will do it. And then in just a few weeks, we had 35 super users, because our clients, they didn't want to really think about what super users should have access to. Maybe just the user part, maybe just the document part. And with like everyone is when everyone is responsible for something, then no one is. And so it was just all badly configured. So we decided to change it, and we didn't have a super user anymore, but just an account for an admin to give permissions and to create users. So no more open permissions, but just the one needed for those super users. Now, let's talk about the user's permissions. In Django, by default, and in many other languages, you have 4 created permissions. It's the same as on the APIs. You have the CRUD. So you can add your document, you can view your document, you can delete it, and you can change it. So we had those permissions, but we also needed another permission. For our case, our business case, we needed the publish permission, because first, our back office users were creating the documents, but then the supervisor were going through it and publishing it. And to make it easier to manage, we create group to manage those permissions. So, for example, an admin has access to the view and the add, like a back office user, and the supervisor had the publish part. Then we need to manage the resources, who has access to which resource. To do that, on each document, we had the company linked to that document. And so it was named authorization group in our case, and users had this authorization group. They had to have it to be able to see it and to manage it. So this is the discretionary access control. You have the owner giving the rights from for the users on a resource. So it was really great for developers. We had all these permissions. We could manage them in our app, but as you can see, it's not that easy to read. Or admin who were given the rights, they were so lost in it. We had so many permissions, and it led to many bugs. So, for example, one of our users had access to the add permission, so they could create documents, but then they didn't have the view permission, so they couldn't see it. Just imagine how it is. You just create your document and then it isn't there. So you create more and more and you can't see it. So yeah, for the ones giving the rights, it wasn't just obvious that if you have the add permission, you don't have the view permission. So that like many people were reporting bugs. Most of the time, those bugs were just permission issues. And we, as developers, were working on it. And sometimes we would lose like 2 or 3 days just thinking about the wrong permissions, or like if there was a bug in the app, or if it was a wrong permission, so losing some times. And one of the issue was in Django, the super user or like the admin, the new admin, couldn't delegate the group creation to supervisor. So in our supervisor team, those people, the supervisor knew if someone was joining the team, or if someone was leaving, who should have access to which resources, but our admin didn't know that. So we had to to change this this model, and also, I don't know. Okay, and also at that time we were onboarding more and more users, and we didn't have in the app the basic security features like multi-factor authentication, password management, security logs. We also wanted to block a user if there were many attempts on their account. So to add both of that, we had 2 choices at that point. We could have developed it in our app, or we could use a SaaS. At that time, we also had an evolution in our environment, and other apps were created, and they also wanted to have the same management system. So it was another great argument to use a SaaS, and we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So then, how do we choose SaaS? We decided on key points, like control points, we wanted to check to have the best SaaS possible for our app. So first, we wanted it to be secure, have all the security features needed in our app. And because it was causing bugs, we wanted it to be user-friendly, like the supervisors could manage their team, and they could create like the right permissions for their team. And then 2 other like small part, but still really needed features. It needed to be fast and scalable, and obviously to make our job easier, it needed to be easily integrated in our app. So we had already implemented the permissions in Django, but it wasn't great for our need anymore. So it wasn't secure because we didn't have the right features, and it wasn't admin friendly. Our client was using Azure Active Directory at the time, so we thought about using it. But because there were many external users, it wasn't the best way to do it. In fact, if you read the Azure AD definition, it enables your employees to access external resources, especially Microsoft ones. So it's not, you don't want to add external people, not from your company, in your AD. We also could use the client CRM, but it wasn't really fast and scalable. Sometimes it would respond in a few seconds, like 3 to 10 seconds. 10 is not just, 3 is not acceptable, but 10 is just the worst. It wasn't developer friendly. There didn't have any documentation about it, and it wasn't admin friendly for the external admins because they couldn't really use it. They didn't know how to use it. So we decided to implement permissions not directly in Django, that's not that, but in a SaaS, in an external SaaS. And we decided to use Okta. So now I'll talk about why we used Okta and what challenges we faced using it. So first, this is what it looks like. We decided to create a group system. So we had like the admin and the firm and a supervisor group. And we implemented that kind of workflow. So, for example, so I create a group in my app and I create all the groups and the users in my SaaS, so here in Okta. And I can give those groups to my users according to what their role is. And when they log in my app with the Okta SSO, then we can create or update those users and give them the rights they need. So this is the role-based access control. As developers, we created those roles and we gave them the right permissions. So what was great about Okta and what wasn't that great? So first, it was easy to manage password policies, and it was really easy to integrate it with our flow. So for the password policy, we had specific policies on sensible groups. For example, the supervisors, there was the one with most rights. So we could like change their password policies, for example, or we could rotate them if needed. There was also something that happened, and Okta was hacked in 2020. It was just a few months after we had implemented it. They helped us, but they took some time to tell the customers. So it took 2 months before they told the customers. So they were really like people pointed fingers at them because of it. But after it, they helped us. They gave us great documentation about what to do, like which part of the application could have been reached. So I don't know, it's mixed feelings about it. And for the administrators, it was user-friendly. They had just one place to use one place with all the rights, and the UX is better. So I don't know if you've worked with many management tools, like security management tools, but most of the time it's really ugly and no one is working on making them UX, like making the UX better, making them user-friendly. So like, for example, Cognito in AWS, it's really ugly. You can see that it's built by tech people, but they don't think about the non-tech people. And we had also, I don't know if you've noticed in my schema, but like we needed developers to build, like to create groups in our app. We didn't want users to be able to create groups in Okta and then like link them to our app directly. So it meant we had a duplication between our group in Okta and our group in the app. But it was to make it more secure, to be sure the rights were the ones needed for the group. And it led us to this. So all our permissions, like about the documents, were just created in 2 permissions. Like the can create draft documents, that was for the back office users, and can publish and delete documents. This is for like the supervisors. Then it was fast and scalable. We had, like they have many offers. I don't know if you can check them, but you can also use another SaaS. I don't have any parts in Okta, so just check what is better for you. And for developers, they have a really clear developer documentation. You can also manage your users or your resources and add properties that you want to use. Those properties cannot be read-only if you want your users to manage their own users. So this is one of the issue we had. And obviously, so the developers, because of the duplication in groups, they had to add also the groups each time a new company was onboarded, for example. But after it, our administrators were really happy about it, especially the supervisors. They were able to manage their team and the admin in our clients because they could delegate and they didn't have like endless conversations about which didn't have the right rights. And the developers, they had less bugs because of permissions. So like a small recap about the control points for our management service. So we decided to use Okta because it was more secure with the security features implemented it. It was fast and scalable. It was developer friendly, and it met our admin needs. So I think I want to talk about like the takeaways about this talk. So first, you really need to understand your business. We had many discussions because of the bugs. So it was bad to have all those bugs, but they helped us understand what was needed for our admins. And even after we implemented those groups, we still had to evolve with the business. It's always a trade-off between your granularity and your simplicity. We built an app with like thousands of rights, and we decided to keep only 2 permissions for the admins. But that was the ones needed for them to work. And design a system that prevent users error. So help them, like in our case, it was, they only had those 2 permissions, and they didn't have to understand everything that was behind it because it wasn't what was needed in the job. To go further, because there were still limits in our system, it was still possible for users to give the wrong permissions. For example, a supervisor could give too much permission to a back office user. We had hundreds of users, so it wasn't really easy to go through all of them and check their permissions. And because there were multiple apps in our system, those permissions evolved. Some permissions were only for some apps. So what I'm working on now is to add a visual management to detect those errors, help the business stakeholders see what permissions are given to users, and a really easy way to track those errors. You need something to show your stakeholders what are the permissions, and they can't have it really easily. If they can't have it really easily in your app, then they won't take the time to review all the users. So always check with them. Thank you. That was about what happened in my app. I'll be happy to answer any question you have. And if you need resources, I'll also give my slides. I think there is a question over there.
Wait, just getting it.
Thank you for your feedback. Before testing SaaS solution, do you use open source solution like Keycloak? No?
So we didn't, because our client was really like they didn't really want it, unfortunately, because they wanted, like for them, one of the important parts was also the support, like if they could have access to a great support, especially after we left them, because open source is really great for developers, but for business people, it's not that easy to use. So we didn't included it.
Any more? Yeah.
So you said that you had lots of permissions from all of your Django models. How did you end up mapping those to the Okta roles?
So it was really like many conversations with the business, understanding what they needed to do. And like later in the app, we also added new groups. So that was really at the beginning, but like we needed to understand what was the role of each person in the business. And yeah, it took some time to understand that. I don't know if that answered it or...
Maybe as a follow-up question, do you intend to do a visual analysis thing for that mapping as well?
For what, sorry?
For mapping the model permissions to the roles.
Yeah, I think it could be great, like for the developers of the tech parts to really understand what is in each group, each role, and then review it with the management if needed.
How do you actually engage these business stakeholders for this permission management?
So a great part was because we had many bugs, they were involved because they knew it didn't work the right way. So sometimes the bugs are a clear red flag for your clients, for your business, to show that there is something wrong with the tech. But maybe it's because the tech part and the business part don't talk at all or don't talk enough. And showing them the bugs and how we resolved it through adding the right permissions helped us involve them in our management system. Any more questions?
If I add more to that, are these engagement kind of a both way contributing, or it is one way contributing? Business stakeholders.
Were they contributing?
Yeah.
I think they were also really happy to see what was like behind it, how to help the tech people, and like most of the time, your business it seems really like obscure what happens in the tech parts, but when you explain it really clearly, they're really happy to know what happens, and they're really happy to help you with it. So you can like include them more in the tech part.
Do we have any more questions? So great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marie, for this engaging talk. And
let's go to lunch.
and one round.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.